everybody, it's KelseeBrianaJai here with a review on the insanely popular Huda Beauty Texture Eyeshadow Palette. This one is in the Rose Gold Edition, and I picked this up during the Sephora VIP sale because so many of you all requested me to do a review on this. So of course I'm going to do that in this video, as well as give you guys swatches, as well as a tutorial so you all can see how they perform in person. But before we start talking about the palette, I want to give you guys a little bit of a background on who Huda is and why she's so important. Basically, she is a phenomenon in the beauty world. She has an insanely popular Instagram account. She has about 15.6 million followers. Yes, you heard me right. So many people follow her on the internet. She is a businesswoman, an entrepreneur, and makeup blogger. So she is a really highly respected person in the makeup industry. She is very popular in the US. However, overseas she is even more popular. She's like the Michael Jackson slash Beyonce of the makeup industry overseas. Like, she is a really important person. So overseas she lives in Dubai, but she is Tennessee raised like myself. So that really made me buy the palette, to be honest. You guys wanted to see it, but then when I found out she was raised in Tennessee, I was like, let me go ahead and get Miss Huda's palette. When this palette initially launched, it launched on Huda's website and it was shipping from overseas to the US. So when you initially ordered it, the shipping was $20 or something to that extent, and I didn't purchase it then. I really didn't have plans on purchasing it until I saw how many of you guys were interested in it. So I waited until I got it from Sephora, and I got it for 20% off. So sometimes it really pays to have patience. So let's go ahead and look at the packaging. The outside case is pretty much what she has become famous for. As you guys probably see on Instagram, a lot of people hold up her eyelash case, which has the same design, and they put it over their eyes and then they kind of lower it down and you see her eyelashes. So that is what her brand initially launched from, the eyelashes, and then she released some liquid lipsticks and now the palette. So of course when she was releasing her palette, she followed the same design that she is famous for. However, on the lashes she just has her eyes blank with just the eyelashes, and now because of the eyeshadow palette she added a little bit of eyeshadow, which I thought was just super cute. So I'm a big fan of the outside packaging. It's simple, it's pretty, it's eye-catching. If I was in a store and I saw this palette, I would stop and have to look at it because this is gorgeous. Her eyes are gorgeous. She is a beautiful woman. If you guys haven't seen her, go check out her Instagram. So basically the name of this is called the Textured Shadows Palette Rose Gold Edition, and it says her name, Huda Beauty, right here. So if you want to get your hands on this palette, then definitely sign up for it on Sephora.com. It is currently out of stock, but let's cross our fingers that it comes back in stock in time for the VIBs to get their 20% off. But let's go ahead and jump into what is inside of the palette. This is just an outside casing. Is holding the palette pretty tight. So if you were going to travel with this palette, I would definitely say travel with this sleeve. That way it doesn't open up, because this palette is magnetized, but it's not magnetized super hard to where it wouldn't open. And also this right here is pretty sturdy, but I can see where if you were traveling and you know how they are at the airport, they will fling your stuff around. I can see where this would break. Like I said, this palette retails for $65, and on the inside you have 18 different eyeshadows housed in this case. So a lot of people were really disappointed in the quality of the case, and they were saying it felt cheap and flimsy. The outside casing, the actual packaging is not bad. It's not the sturdiest that I felt. I actually went ahead and grabbed some other cardboard palettes that you guys are familiar with. In comparison to the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette, this one is way heavier than this one. This one is super lightweight in comparison, as well as the Makeup by Mario palette, which is also made with that cardboard, the same style. This one is also heavier than this one. But also note that this palette does not come with a mirror. It does have the clear case instead, which I do like that, because you're able to see inside which colors you want to use. Especially this is helpful for makeup artists. If you choose to put a palette like this in your kit, then having a clear case is so helpful than having it closed. But pretty much all of us kind of remember what's in our palettes, but just in case you didn't, having a clear case is kind of awesome. But it's not very heavy in terms of its weightiness. I feel like if you drop it, your eyeshadows probably will break, so be really careful when handling this palette. So on the inside is 18 different eyeshadows. You get about 0.63 ounces of products in this entire palette. So in each pot you get 0.035 ounces of product, so that's a decent amount and you get a good amount of them. As the name states, this is a texture eyeshadow palette. She calls the different eyeshadow finishes textures, which is something that is very unique in terms of eyeshadows. I've never heard of anybody refer to their eyeshadow as textures. There are 3 different textures in this palette. The deep matte texture, which obviously you can tell which ones are matte right off the bat. They have no shimmer. You have the 3D metal texture, which are these really intensely shiny pigments, and then you have the pressed pearls, the colors that are more radiant but they don't have that very deep glitter background to it. So I would probably say the most unique factor to this palette would be the 3D metals, because that's something that we really don't see in eyeshadow palettes very often. These reminds me a lot, if you guys remember, MAC came out with crushed metal pigments, and basically they were in little jars, but they weren't pressed. They were crushed like a regular pigment would be, but these are pressed. These reminds me a lot of those. I want to touch on the 3D metals first because these are the most controversial items in the actual palette. So the 3D metals are here. I used some on my eyelid. I had to use a base in addition to my regular base, something that was like a glitter glue, if you will, to help these adhere better. Huda advises you to use either a brush or preferably your finger, that way it will adhere to the eyelid better. I did use a brush, as you'll see in the tutorial. I found that using your fingers with the 3D metals caused you to pick up too much of it, making it look cakey on your lid. So I like to use a brush and just go little by little. So I would say if you were going to use these 3D metal eyeshadows, that I would not go for them if you didn't have a lot of time to just build it on, because using your finger is going to give you that texture look. That's not a look that you really want to go for. The deep matte colors performed pretty well for me. I used about 4, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I used about 5 of them in this look, and they didn't kick up too much powder, so they were no problem for me. They weren't the best matte formula I've ever tried, but they were far from the worst. I did like the way that they blended out on my eyelid. I didn't have a whole lot of trouble going back and forth. I feel like the colors that I applied in my crease look really nice. I was able to get a lot of definition. I even used the black one, and black is really hard to do, and I didn't have a problem with it looking patchy. I was able to go in and add the definition where I wanted it to be, and I even used the color Cocoa and Bossy, and those 2 colors, not in her palette but just in general, the colors are known to be splotchier colors, like that berry and that dark brown and the black, and so I did not feel that these were splotchy. And even this one, I feel like this one, it showed up true to color. So these colors really impressed me. These performed really well on my eye, so I didn't have a problem with those at all. Now when I used this color right here, Rose Gold, the namesake of the palette, I did have to go over it a few times. It is that 3D metal texture. So my advice when you're using these 3D metal textures is to take your time with it. Do not dig your brush into these colors. The following colors, do not dig your brush in here: Dubai, Blessed, Fling, 24K, Rose Gold, and Trust Fund. If you dig your brush in these colors pretty hard, it's going to crumble them and they will break. They are soft, as you can see, so when I was using them, I would kind of kick up a little bit and then put it on my eye, and that way it allowed me to pick up a little bit more on my brush. So what I mean is, like, if you took your finger and kind of scratched up a little bit and then pressed it back, you can get a little bit more versus just rubbing like this. But they're so soft and like a gummy texture. It's a very particular texture that I hope that I'm describing okay to you guys so you understand what I'm saying, but it's super soft so you can press it back together. The other colors in the palette are also complementary to it. I was able to do my entire eye look without reaching for another palette, which is something that a lot of people are not able to do. I would normally have to go in to get a color to set everything, or to get some transition colors, or to get a highlight color, but this palette pretty much covered all of the bases. As far as the uniqueness of this palette, definitely we have seen these colors a lot in the past year. If this palette had come out even a year ago, then it would be more unique on the market, but because we have so many palettes with these warm colors, these warm berry colors, it's not as unique as I feel like it could have been. But definitely if you're a person who doesn't have a lot of these colors in your collection, I can see where you would like it if you understand how to apply it. Just know that you're not going to go straight in with your regular brush and apply it like a regular eyeshadow for these colors. That's not how they work. They require a little bit more work, and you kind of have to be very, very mindful of the pressure that you apply when you're applying these eyeshadows on your lid, because otherwise they'll just look like a crumbly mess. But other than that, I didn't have a problem at all with this palette. I actually like it. This is why I always say to myself, I have to try things for myself and for you all. A lot of you guys wanted me to try the palette. Like I said, I wasn't going to get it at first, but I'm pretty glad that I did, because I do really like the palette. So try it for yourself. Definitely grab it from Sephora. If you don't like it, you can always exchange or return it, but I would definitely say give it a shot. Don't be a bandwagoner. If you want to try it, then try it. I like the palette. You can go all day on YouTube finding people are saying that they hate it or people that they love it. The only way that you'll know if you like it is if you try it for yourself. But if you guys want to see Mel's tutorial using this palette, I will definitely have hers linked here. You can press the I, or you can go down in the description box and find hers. And if you want to know her opinion and how the palette looks on her and how she uses it, then you can definitely check out her video after you check out mine. But that's all of my thoughts. I think that you should check it out. I like the palette. Huda Beauty is a force to be reckoned with in the beauty world, and I definitely want to support her. Before I jump into the tutorial, I want to go ahead and give you guys swatches. Be mindful that a lot of the colors that I'm using in this palette will apply better than they swatch, and that is true for a lot of eyeshadows. So this formula may not swatch as well as it will apply. So see the swatches and then you'll see my tutorial, and then you guys can make up your own opinion for yourself. So I hope this video was helpful for anybody who is interested. Definitely give me a thumbs up if it was, and tell me down in the comment section. We can have a little conversation, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video. The first thing that we're going to do is prep our eyes. I'm using MAC's Paint Pot in the color Soft Ochre. I'm going to apply this all across my eyelid in a very thin layer. Next, going into the palette, I'm going to take the color Bay, which is a matte color, with my MAC 227 Kitten Paw brush. I'm going to apply this all over my eyelid to set my paint pot. Next, I'm going to take the color Sandalwood with a MAC 224 blending brush and use this as my first transition color. I'm going to apply this in back and forth motions to help us transition to the other colors. So far, so good. Next, switching to a still fluffy brush, I'm going to take the color Man Eater and apply this in my crease. Tap into that color, tap off the excess, and then I'm going to apply that right underneath Sandalwood, right in the crease. Ooh, this is pigmented. Yo, I wasn't expecting that. Now I'm moving on to the top row. I want to see how these colors perform on the lid. So I got my MAC mixing medium out. This one is the eyeliner mixing medium, and I'm going to apply a little bit of this on my lid and then pick up the color. So I'm going to squeeze a little bit of this on the back of my hand. I have a synthetic brush. This is a MAC 247 brush. I'm going to pick up some of this product and apply it directly on the lid, where I'm going to be applying those colors. It feels wet at first, but it'll kind of dry down. So I'm carving out where I want that eyeshadow to be on my lid and being neat with it, because this kind of picks up the product, as you can see, but I'm not taking it past my crease. So I feel it getting a little tacky on my eyelid, because this does dry down a little bit tacky. So now I'm going to move into my eyeshadow from the top. I'm going to take the color Rose Gold with a MAC 242 brush, and I'm going to pick up some of this color and see if I can deposit it on my eyelid. And I'm going to leave a little bit of this right here open as well. I'm actually going to go back with the MAC 247 and see if it picks up this eyeshadow any better, because the 242 is barely getting any. Yes, this one does. So now I want to take a little bit of the color Fling and then apply that on my very outer corner. I also recommend working eye to eye. Fling has a different texture than Rose Gold. It's a little bit easier to pick up, but I'm just going to tap this right on the very outer corner and blend it over, but I'm not going to take this in my crease again. And make sure that you blend that with Rose Gold. So now I'm going to take the color Angelic and switching back to my MAC 242 brush, and I'm going to apply that on my inner corner. Now this color just is reminiscent to like a duochrome eyeshadow, so it doesn't have the texture that the other two eyeshadows have. But I do want to go ahead and apply the lid color to my other eye before this mixing medium dries on my hand, so I'll be right back. Once you have that initially applied, I'm now going to go in and add a little bit more depth to the eye look, but first I want to highlight under my brow, and I'm going to take the color Moon Dust, and I'm going to take a fluffy brush and go right underneath my brow with this. I love these kind of colors. So I want to first go in with Bossy and a MAC 221 brush again, and I'm going to take this right here in my crease. So literally focus it right here. I'm not even going all the way in, just lightly. I'm not going up. I'm just focusing that color right here. And then I'm going to go in with the black. This one is called Black Truffle. Tap off the excess and like literally same thing, but I want more. Yes. I'm going to come back to my eyes and I'm going to clean up whatever fallout I have by dusting it off and then applying some concealer. Today I'm using my NARS concealer in the color Biscuit. To set that, I'm going to take my old Lumiere powder and apply that with my beauty blender underneath my eyes. I'm going to go ahead and take some eyeliner. I'm taking my Tom Ford Eye Defining Pen. I want to go across the bottom with this color right here called Henna. And I have my Wayne Goss 05 pencil brush. Let's just buff this across the bottom. I'm going to take a little bit of Cocoa and put that on the outer part of the lower lash line. So I'm definitely not taking that all the way in. And then I'm going to go back with the color Angelic and put that on the inner corner on the bottom and connect it to the top. Same brush. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my Marc Jacobs Genius Gel Eyeliner in Blacker and apply that on my waterline. I'm going to set my entire face with my Lancome powder in the color Caramel. And I'm going to contour using MAC Shadester. And I'm going to use all three of the colors in here. So I'm going to bronze with this. And then I'm going to highlight using this color. And then of course for lips, I'm going to use one of her liquid lipsticks in the color Spice Girl. So we have reached the end of the review slash tutorial slash swatch video. Let me know down in the comment section if you plan on picking up this palette. It is currently sold out on Sephora.com, but I'm sure they will probably restock it. So make sure you sign up for the notifications. And let me know if you plan on picking it up, or if you have already picked it up, let me know if you do this look. Tag me on Instagram if you do. I'll have that information here and in the description box as always. And if you haven't, make sure you subscribe. That way we keep in touch, because you're the real homie. And I will talk to you guys in my next video. Smooches. Bye.